I am back with a new video. My name is Jaden, and if today is your first time on this channel, you are welcome. On this channel, I talk about mental health education, I talk about lifestyle and beauty, I talk about cooking. I've shared a few of my cooking skills and recipes, and I talk about random things, things that we generally learn from. But let's just say I mind my business and I get inspiration, and then I happily come here to talk about it. On today's video, I want us to talk about something that affects almost everyone, with the exception of children, and I will get into that exception much later. I want us to talk about self-esteem. I want us to talk about self-confidence. I want us to talk about self-value. So personally, there are some times when I wake up in the morning, I feel so happy. I feel so excited. I am so positive in myself. It's almost like I can go and meet the queen. That's how much of confidence I feel inside of me. But some other times I wake up, I feel lack of motivation. I feel like rubbish, really. And it doesn't matter what anyone around me says. I find it hard to engage even with children as young as 5 because I have lots and lots of self-doubt. I feel I don't have the right information to give out. I feel I don't look the right way. I wonder if I am going to come across the wrong way. And I don't think I'm alone in this regard. I don't think this is particular to me. I think so many other people go through this type of feeling from time to time. So I have come to realize that self-confidence is on the spectrum. And this simply means that it fluctuates. It goes from stage to stage, It can mean anything to anyone, and you definitely will not feel the same way all the time. First of all, what do we mean by self-esteem? Again, it is a no-brainer. I know most of us know what is self-confidence. Most of us know what is self-esteem. And I don't mean to be patronizing here, but the reason I'm trying to go back to the root of what self-confidence means is just that it will help me convey the message I have for you today. So, in a nutshell, self-esteem is your evaluation of your self-worth, what you think you are worth, how you feel in yourself, the value you attach to yourself. So, the key word here for me is that your self-confidence is what you say of yourself, is how you evaluate yourself, the importance and the value you attach to yourself, not anyone else. In other words, it is something we have to internalize. It is something we have to say of ourselves. It is something we have to understand that we owe it to ourselves, to come up with that price tag, if you want me to use that word, come up with that value. You have to do that yourself. So self-confidence can either be low, it can be healthy, and it can be overinflated when it is egotistical, and that is when it becomes destructive. So our aim is to have a healthy self-confidence, healthy opinion of ourselves, healthy expectations of ourselves. You don't want to have low self-esteem. That is what I described earlier. Because when you have low self-esteem, you get into a lot of mess, really. You get into a lot of self-doubt, and you now transfer that responsibility of evaluating yourself and your value to another person. That is where you hear people go above and beyond, or see people go above and beyond just to get the validation of another person. That is when we make all manner of sacrifices, turn ourselves into doormats, because we are waiting for others to tell us you are good enough, to tell us how much they think we are worth. We are waiting for others to put a price tag on us. And the truth is, nobody can do it for you, because it is called self-esteem. So when people have overinflated self-value, when people have overinflated and unrealistic opinion of self, they get into a lot of crises. They are self-destructive. They look down on others and they think the world begins and stops with them. The only group of people that are not affected by low self-esteem are children. You remember earlier when I started, I said this is a problem most adults have. So children come into this world without caring who is who. They don't care who is the friend. They don't know who is an enemy. And by children, I mean really, really young children, depending again on some other circumstances. So children have the most self-esteem. When children want something, they ask for it. And do you know the expectation? Yes. They don't care how much you have in your account. They know Christmas is coming. They know you're going to buy new dresses for them, for the girls. And they know you're going to be buying new shoes or whatever the family tradition is. When children are hungry, they don't ask you if you're available to make them food. They don't even want to know if you've eaten. So they have that sort of high expectation and high opinion of self because they don't have any inhibition. Over time, as we nurture children, as we support their growth and development, we help them come to the awareness of what self-esteem is, of what self-value is. But normally, children could care less what anyone thinks of them. They can run out naked if you don't stop them because they don't have any inhibition whatsoever. So as we grow older, especially when we become teenagers, as a matter of fact, teenage years is one of the most difficult times for anyone. And the reason is because this is when some of us come to the awareness of who we are. This is why if you have access to any teenager around you, you need to be very supportive. You need to be very open-minded. We need to encourage a conversation, a relationship, healthy relationship with teenagers around us, because teenage age is one of the most difficult time for anyone. And I'll tell you the reasons. When you're a teenager, that is the first time most people, most teenagers, learn to be independent of their families, independent of their parents, and independent of their caregivers. That is when young adults go out in the community and begin to socialize with people. Most teenagers would want to experiment with everything. Remember, they are going through puberty. Remember, there are changes happening in their body. That is when they experiment with relationships, whether healthy or unhealthy. That is when they experiment with drugs and alcohol. That is when they experiment with sex. That is when they do all manner of things. So for that reason, young people going through this phase of their life have the lowest form of self-esteem. Very fragile ego that can easily be hurt, can easily be damaged. When you have a young person around you, the earlier we begin to help them understand that self-confidence is something they have to give to themselves, the better for them. The easier it is for them to grow up knowing that it doesn't matter really what anyone thinks of you. And you cannot buy people's validation. It doesn't matter what you do. I have seen people who are so kind and genuinely supportive of others, but at the end of the day, they were called horrible names. Jesus, for instance, for some of us who are Christians, you know, he got to a point where he was accused for feeding people. He was accused for healing people. He was hated for telling people the truth. So it doesn't matter what you do as a human being. Anyone is allowed to have whatever opinion they want of you. So you don't want to live your life waiting on people to validate you. You don't want to live your life waiting on someone to tell you that it's okay to be happy. It's okay to dress up nicely. It's okay to have a particular hairstyle if you can afford it and you're not offending anyone by doing so. Self-confidence is what you owe yourself. Self-validation and self-esteem is what you need to give yourself. But you also need to understand that you will not feel the same way every day. Sometimes you will be low, sometimes you will feel high, some other times you might feel indifferent. Just like sometimes you might have huge appetite for food. Some other times you don't care what is cooked. You just don't have the appetite, not for any particular reason, We need to make sure we're saying the right things to the young people around us. We need to make sure we're empowering them. We need to make sure we're giving them the tools and the arsenals, to develop and to validate themselves. And we need to make sure we're having conversation around healthy opinion of self. But be constructive when having that conversation. I remember growing up, most of the friends I had all had similar experiences. When we go to school, during our exams, sometimes we talk. This parent will tell his daughter that he was first in class during his time. This other mom would tell the daughter, I never had a boyfriend until I was married. This other one would say to their daughter, I was always the best of my siblings. We came to understand as we grew older that most of our parents said the same thing to us. It is not true. Most of our mothers did not marry the first man they met. Most of our parents had failures. They experienced failures in class, in school. Most of our parents growing up did things they were not very proud of. So when you are open and honest with the young people around you, whether you are the best parents or not, you help them form a realistic expectations of themselves. You can't tell a young person that is a terrible thing to fail. No, which is why in my last video, if you haven't seen that video, by the way, on how we deal with failure, please try and watch it. There is so much to learn from it. So I discussed that failure is a contraption of our mind, is a state of mind. We fail for so many reasons. And when we fail, we learn something from failing. But when you tell a young person around you that he is terrible, oh, you shouldn't have had this grade, oh, this result was unbecoming of you, you should be ashamed of yourself. When I was your age, I scored 100%. You are destroying them. We are destroying them because we're not helping them to get a balance in life. We're lying to them. We're telling them that we're superhuman, and it's going to have a knock-on effect on their self-esteem, on their self-confidence. Because when they go out there, they are very vulnerable. They're going to make mistakes. They will have a low opinion of self. They will think they are not good enough. And that is the worst thing you can do to any young person, any child around you. Remember, the world out there, the society out there has no patience for anyone. We are living in 2021, in the age of social media. So we need to empower any young person around us, to understand that what they say about themselves matter most. That is not saying that we have to encourage egotistic behavior. That is not to say we have to encourage grandiosity. That is not to say we have to encourage false opinion of self. No. Which is also why if a child is not achieving and you know that child is capable of achieving, you can push them. You can nudge them in the right direction. You can tell them off. But when you're encouraging a child, when you're telling off a child, your feedback needs to be constructive. And yourself should be the first reference point. Reference your own mistakes, because we all have them in abundance. Reference your own doubts. Reference your own journey. Help them understand that it is okay to feel happy sometimes and to feel low sometimes. It is okay sometimes to feel exuberant, to have the highest form of self-esteem. But it is okay sometimes to feel low. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about things that we can do specifically, to boost our self-confidence, to help us, not just young people, but adults, to understand the pattern. Thank you again for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video and you have found it helpful. If you haven't subscribed one more time, please remember to do so. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye now.